Explosive Netherlands, explosions in The Hague, Amsterdam, and Rotterdam. Today we delve into a topic that has shaken the Netherlands, both literally and figuratively. The focus is on explosions, which have become tools of violence and intimidation used by criminal groups. The Netherlands, a country known for its advanced technology and social stability, seems like a place where such acts of violence should be rare. Yet reality surprises us. Explosions occur almost daily, even in a country widely regarded as one of the safest in Europe, exposing the scale of emerging threats. How did this escalation of violence come about? What has turned the Netherlands into a stage for such brutal actions, where criminals resort to such drastic measures? Today, we take a closer look at this issue, understanding the background, scale, and mechanisms of these criminal activities sheds light on the deeper roots of this phenomenon, the scale of the problem. The year 2024 has brought dramatic and alarming statistics for the Netherlands. Over 600 explosions and numerous attempted attacks have been recorded, a figure both staggering and terrifying. More importantly, it highlights just a fragment of the problem the Netherlands is grappling with. For comparison, in 2023, there were only 228 such incidents, marking an increase of nearly 300%. A threefold surge in explosions within just 12 months is a striking indicator of how rapidly this issue is escalating. It is worth noting that this figure includes both successful attacks and failed attempts intercepted by security services. However, these numbers likely represent only a fraction of the actual activity occurring in the field. This dramatic rise underscores the urgent need for enhanced countermeasures to address this growing threat. Interestingly, the issue lies not only in the sheer number of explosions, but also in the methods used to carry them out, which pose a significant challenge to law enforcement. Most of these attacks involve improvised explosive devices, IEDs, which are much harder to detect than conventional bombs. The 600 reported cases likely represent just a portion of the activity, as they exclude failed attempts that did not detonate or were intercepted before detonation. This hidden dimension underscores the broader, unseen scale of the problem. The increase in explosions also reflects the growing sophistication and reach of criminal networks. These methods are not just tools for disputes between rival gangs, but are increasingly employed in everyday conflicts, between families, neighbors, and within disputes over business interests. This shift highlights the pervasive nature of the problem, where violence and intimidation become ingrained in various aspects of social and economic life. While one might assume that the problem of explosions is confined to major cities, the reality is that this level of violence is spreading to smaller towns, where the impacts of such attacks are equally destructive. The statistics are clear. The Netherlands is grappling with a deepening crisis linked to organized crime. This wave of violence not only unsettles society, but also reshapes the very fabric of the nation. Addressing this issue will require decisive action and systemic reforms to prevent further escalation. The 600 explosions recorded in 2024 represent more than just a national crisis. They signal a broader European concern. The Netherlands' strong ties to the drug market and criminal organizations operating across the continent make this an issue of international significance, demanding coordinated efforts to counteract these dangerous trends. The cities most affected by explosions. The epicenters of this crisis are Rotterdam, Amsterdam, and The Hague. Rotterdam, as one of Europe's largest ports, has become a hub for drug-related crime and consequently a primary target for attacks. Bombs explode almost daily in these cities. In Rotterdam, particularly in neighborhoods where illegal activities are concentrated, the lives of residents have become a waiting game for the next explosion. What does life look like in such a city? How do residents cope with the dual threat of crime and the constant danger of explosions? Changes in lifestyle, reduced willingness to venture outside, and disengagement from local community life may seem extreme, but could soon become the reality for those living in Rotterdam. Comparing these figures to other countries, the situation in the Netherlands appears even more dire. In Belgium, the neighboring country, approximately 100 explosions were recorded in 2024, just 1/6 of the cases in the Netherlands. This stark difference underscores the unique and alarming nature of the situation in the Netherlands, where the scale of violence far surpasses regional norms. The operating mechanisms of criminals. Criminals employ a simple yet highly effective method: Improvised explosive devices, IEDs. Producing these devices requires neither substantial financial resources nor advanced technology. All that is needed are easily accessible materials such as fireworks, gasoline, and remote detonators. These components are legally available, and the internet provides hundreds of guides on how to construct a bomb. This approach leverages the simplicity and efficiency of executing attacks. Instead of resorting to more complex and risky forms of violence, perpetrators can simply leave a package at a door and detonate it remotely. A key advantage of this method is anonymity. Tracing the culprit is difficult, which fosters a sense of impunity among criminals. This low-cost, high-impact tactic allows organized crime to intimidate and harm without exposing its members to significant risks, further perpetuating the cycle of violence and complicating law enforcement efforts. The impact of explosions on ordinary citizens. Now let's examine 3 events that shook the Netherlands and led to the complete destruction of the lives of those who became victims of brutal explosions. These stories highlight the harsh reality of how these incidents affect citizens' daily lives. Not only in material terms, but also emotionally, as victims often have to cope with trauma, the loss of loved ones, and the need to rebuild everything from scratch. In Rotterdam, one explosion in an industrial district destroyed an entire apartment of a family with 3 children. By the time emergency services arrived at the scene, the family was forced to evacuate with only the most basic belongings. In today's world, where losing one's home can happen in an instant, there is little room for rebuilding life without enormous challenges. The family not only lost their possessions, but also their sense of security, which deeply impacted their mental health. In the towns of Aalsmeer and Beverwijk, explosions rocked shops selling Polish products. In one instance, an explosion destroyed a grocery store, turning it into rubble. Although no one was killed in this attack, the explosion sparked tremendous fear within the local community. People from the area began avoiding this part of the town, which negatively impacted local businesses. In The Hague, a powerful explosion caused part of a residential building to collapse. 2 people were trapped under the rubble, sustaining serious injuries that required prolonged hospitalization. The blast not only destroyed their lives, but also disrupted the lives of local entrepreneurs who operated businesses nearby. Some were forced to close their shops and restaurants for the duration of repairs, resulting in significant loss of income. Last Saturday, a tragic explosion occurred in The Hague. Police suspect that the blast was a deliberate attack targeting a bridal shop located in the destroyed building. Authorities shared these findings during a television program on Tuesday. The motives behind the attack on this store remain unknown. Sources indicate that this is one of the scenarios being considered by the police, but not the only one. There is also considerable doubt surrounding the fact that the bomb, made from fireworks and gasoline, commonly used in such attacks, could not have caused the collapse of the entire apartment complex. As a result of this incident, 3 men were arrested on Monday evening. It has been confirmed that the explosion was not caused by a gas leak, but rather by deliberate action. The consequences of the explosion were devastating. 6 people lost their lives, including a family of 3 from The Hague: the father, mother, and their 17-year-old daughter. The only surviving family member is their 8-year-old son. The other victims were 3 men. The police continue to investigate, trying to identify the driver of a car who quickly fled the scene right after the explosion. Although several vehicles have been stopped, it is still unclear whether the sought-after vehicle is among them. Mocro Mafia, the driving force behind violence. The Mocro Mafia is one of the key driving forces behind the rise in violence in the Netherlands. This brutal criminal organization has dominated the drug trade, particularly in Rotterdam, which has become a major hub for cocaine trafficking into the European market. What happens in Rotterdam has far-reaching effects, not only within the Netherlands, but also across other parts of Europe. If you're interested in learning more about the Mocro Mafia, make sure to check out our channel, where we've recorded a detailed episode about the organization. In this episode, we delve into its history, structure, and the profound impact it has on life in the Netherlands. You'll find all the details we won't be covering here today. Why do criminals choose explosions? What makes explosions so popular among criminals is the fact that they are relatively easy to carry out, and the risk of getting caught is minimal. Most explosive materials, such as fireworks, do not require special permits or complex procedures, which lowers the chances of detection. Furthermore, according to the law, possessing fireworks carries much lower penalties than possessing firearms. This combination of ease of access and lower legal consequences makes explosions an attractive option for criminals. Challenges in the fight against crime. The Dutch police are facing enormous challenges in combating crime. Data shows that there is a shortage of around 2,000 officers, which hampers the effective monitoring of active criminal groups. There is also a lack of adequate resources and technology that could assist in detecting criminals. Additionally, society is increasingly fearful of reporting crimes, as people do not want to risk retaliation. This lack of trust in law enforcement, combined with insufficient police resources, allows criminals to operate with near impunity. This creates a dangerous cycle. The fewer reports there are, the fewer interventions take place, which in turn strengthens the sense of impunity among criminal groups. Explosions in the Netherlands are not just a problem for the country itself, but also a warning for the whole of Europe. If the Netherlands does not take decisive action, the issue may only worsen. Key to addressing this crisis will be legal changes, particularly tougher penalties for possessing explosive materials. Increased support for law enforcement will also be essential, as well as new investments in police and technology to enable more effective detection of explosives and neutralization of the threat. Finally, a question for you. Do you think similar incidents could become a daily occurrence in other countries as well? Or do you have your own ideas on how to prevent this escalation of violence? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for your attention, and see you in the next episode.